Welcome back to CIA Declassified. By 1985, the CIA was facing a catastrophe. Assets in Moscow were disappearing. Operations that had taken decades to build were being rolled up overnight. The agency didn't just have a leak. They had a ghost, a person within their own ranks who was methodically handing over the crown jewels of American intelligence to the KGB. They called the unknown subject the entity. Counterintelligence officers were exhausted. They had thousands of employees to vet and no physical evidence. In an act of desperate lateral thinking, the Office of Security authorized a highly unorthodox request. They sent a courier to Fort Meade with a sealed envelope. Inside was no name, no photo, only the intent to find the man who was killing American spies. The resulting session is one of the most remarkable operational hits in the STARGATE archives. The viewer was not told they were looking for a mole. They were simply given a blind target to describe a person associated with a specific loss of data. The viewer began to sketch a man, noting his height, his receding hairline, and a specific nervous habit involving his glasses. A quote from a declassified STARGATE session log 86-04. I see a house. It's at the end of a curved street, a cul-de-sac in Virginia. There's a blue sedan in the driveway. The man, he feels divided. He works in a building with no windows. He's carrying a briefcase that doesn't belong to him. He lives near a park with a small pond, end quote. The viewer then provided a series of numbers that they believed were part of an address. When the FBI and CIA counterintelligence teams cross-referenced these descriptions with their list of persons of interest, they found a near-perfect match. The blue sedan and the specific geography of the Virginia cul-de-sac narrowed the field from hundreds of suspects to one. In the aftermath of the session, the Category 1 designation was not granted immediately. It required a triple-blind verification process where a second viewer located in a different facility was asked to target the person described by the first. The second viewer corroborated the blue sedan detail and added a description of the target's basement, specifically mentioning a hidden compartment where papers are kept cold. This level of cross-viewer synchronization was extremely rare in the program's history. There's a persistent theory among former Stargate personnel that the entity was not working alone, but was part of a triple-agent ring. Speculation suggests the viewer's description of the subject feeling divided referred to the subject's belief that he was actually helping the U.S. by providing the KGB with controlled disinformation, unaware that the KGB had already bypassed his double play. A quote from the Major General Albert Stubblebine, the former head of INSCOM. We had instances where the accuracy was so high it was frightening to the intelligence community. They wanted the information, but they didn't want to know where it came from. When a viewer describes the wallpaper in a target's bedroom, you've moved past intelligence and into something the brass finds deeply uncomfortable. End quote. Operational records show that the specific viewer involved in the entity hunt, often identified in logs as viewer 001 or Joe McMonagle, suffered from a significant physical exhaustion following the session. He reportedly described a metallic taste in his mouth and a spike in blood pressure, a physiological phenomenon documented by the CIA's Life Sciences Division as a common side effect of high-accuracy, extended remote viewing sessions. Some analysts speculate that the small pond mentioned in the logs wasn't a natural feature, but a coded reference to a CIA dead drop location known as a pond in internal jargon. If true, it would mean the viewer wasn't just seeing the target's home, but was mentally tracking the target's operational route to a specific contact point with Soviet handlers. Internal CIA memos from 1987 reveal a fierce debate between the rationalist in the Directorate of Operations and the experimentalist in the Science and Technology Directorate. The rationalist argued that the entity's success was a statistical fluke or the results of a leak from the CIA team to the viewers, while the S&T branch pointed to the viewer's description of a specific broken tail light on the blue sedan, a detail the CI team didn't even know until they arrived at the house. The most extreme speculation regarding this case suggests that the entity was actually caught months before the remote viewing session, and the entire hunt was a staged test. The theory posits that the CIA used a known traitor to see if the Stargate viewers could find him, essentially using a human life as a calibration target to prove the program's worthiness for the defense budget. When you read the declassified reports on the entity, you'll find that the sections detailing the internal arrest process are heavily redacted. The heaviest redactions occur when the document discusses how the remote viewing data was used to obtain a FISA warrant. There's heavy speculation that the CIA and FBI did not want to admit in court that their probable cause came from a psychic. The theory suggests the redactions cover a parallel construction, where the agency used psychic data to find the mole, then fabricated a traditional tip-off or a fake paper trail to make the arrest legal in civilian court. Further speculation suggests the redactions hide the identity of other moles identified during the same session. Some theorists believe the viewer actually described 3 different people, but only one was arrested. Speculation suggests the other 2 were high-ranking officials who were allowed to retire quietly to avoid public scandal that would have destroyed the agency's reputation. Was the hunt for the entity a success? In the declassified logs, this case is marked as a Category 1 success, the highest possible rating for a remote viewing session. The data was actionable, accurate, and verifiable. Quote from a CIA counterintelligence officer: "We were looking for a needle in the haystack of 10,000 needles. The viewing didn't give us the confession, but it gave us the haystack. It allowed us to put a tail on the right person at the right time. Without that session, the bleed would have continued for another 5 years." End quote. While the program was often criticized for its vague results, the entity case is frequently used by proponents of Stargate to prove that under the right conditions, with a high-value target, the human mind could penetrate even the most secure layers of internal bureaucracy. The entity case resulted in specific breakthroughs in the human intelligence field. Technological breakthroughs include psychic technical fusion. This was the first documented case where remote viewing sketches were digitized and run through the FBI's facial recognition database of the time, attempting to find a match among government employees. 2. Environmental anchor protocols. The agency learned that viewers were more accurate when describing familiar environments like Virginia suburbs than foreign cities, leading to a new protocol called suburban anchoring. And 3. Behavioral prediction models. The session allowed CI officers to build a behavioral profile based on the psychic's description of the subject's nervous energy, leading to new ways of spotting insider threats during polygraph exams. The entity was no longer a ghost. He was a man in a blue sedan living at the end of a cul-de-sac who thought he was invisible. He didn't realize that the agency had found a way to walk through the walls of his home without ever leaving their office in Maryland. Next time on CIA Declassified, we move from the mind to the written word. We examine the one-time pad distribution logs. How do you get a secret message into the most paranoid country on Earth? We'll look at the declassified records of how the CIA smuggled high-level encryption codes into the USSR, hidden inside the spines of Bibles and covers of classic Russian literature. It's a story of invisible ink, hollowed-out books, and the cold reality of the dead drop. Join us for the Gospel of Secrets. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.